Okay, good evening. My name is Andy.
And I'm Evan.
And together we are Deplorable General. We like to bring you tactical tips, guns and gear review, some political commentary from time to time as well, just to kind of shake things up. And today we wanted to talk about an extension of what we talked about last week, situational awareness. Just to give you some background on us, I'm a military veteran. I was a master at arms in the Navy. I have countless hours of tactical training. Evan has his experience in the private security, executive protection industry, and together we're both also NRA certified instructors, and we do some local training here. So that's just to give you kind of background on who we are. So last week, like I said, we talked about situational awareness, the idea that in today's world you can't be scared to go out in public, but it is a scary world. So in order to mitigate that, you have to have situational awareness. You have to be conscious of what's going on around you, and you also have to have a plan for how you're going to respond to different situations when they come about. So that's kind of what we talked about last week. Well, we had some requests to extend that, to talk about not just situational awareness, but situational awareness specifically relating to and pertaining to females, to women. There's some stories that we're going to get into here in a couple minutes, but first I wanted to start off with a couple statistics just to kind of give you an idea. Now these statistics, you can find them anywhere. There was a Department of Justice study that was done recently. These statistics that I have here are from a website called 1 in 4. And I guess the idea is that 1 in 4 college women have survived rape or attempted rape. And that's what the website's based off of. So that's the first statistic. 5% of women on college campuses experience rape or attempted rape every year. In 1 year, 300,000 college women, over 5% of women enrolled in colleges and universities experience rape. This does not include other forms of sexual assault. Let's see here. Women in sororities are 74% more likely to experience rape than other college women, and those who live in the sorority house are over 3 times as likely to experience rape. Perpetrators. For female rape survivors, 98.1% of the time a man was the perpetrator. For male rape survivors, 93%. Among male offenders who rape women, 64% were using alcohol and or drugs prior to the attack. So anyway, you get the point. The point is that that was all college related, obviously, but the statistics are very high, and if you are a fan of social media, then you've seen the Me Too campaign, which is based on you put hashtag Me Too, and that's supposed to signify that you had been sexually harassed at some point in your life. And the amount of Me Too's that I saw on Facebook over a couple-week period was just staggering. It's it was
a lot.
It's a lot.
It was a lot.
Kind of hard to swallow, to be honest with you.
Well, that was just out of Hollywood, too.
Right.
A lot of that was just out of this, whatever that guy, Weinstein or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So it's a problem in this country and across the world, obviously, but we're talking about this country. So the statistics are there. You can go out and look at the studies. Just Google, female rape and the DOJ studies, and you'll be able to find those. So basically, we wanted to just, obviously, we all know it's a problem. So last week we did talk about what you can do to raise your situational awareness and how you can respond. This week we want to kind of go into some of the details of those things for women specifically. So again, we're going to talk a couple stories. Evan's going to start with a story that a friend of ours told us last week, and then I got a story for you, and then we'll kind of roll into what can you do about it.
Yeah, our friend of ours was telling us about time that she was being followed, and she turned into a gas station, and she was able to, do her thing. The guy followed her, and then, she left. You know, she was able to leave with no problem, and come to find out that guy was a rapist.
Right.
So, you know, it's just, you know, blind luck, but she had that situational awareness.
Yep.
That this guy was not kosher.
Yeah, something was weird.
Something was weird about him.
Yep, exactly.
I'm going to interject another quick story. We had a 19-year-old, now this is back when I just started training security officers. This is Little Rock. And we had a 19-year-old female come in, college kid, come in. She lives off campus. She had, you know, the apartment that they would only lease to college kids.
Sure.
And she says, I'm off campus. I want a gun to defend myself.
Mm-hmm.
So she gets a 20 gauge pump shotgun. I train her on my 12 gauge I had.
Sure.
And then she got the 20 gauge, and I trained her on that. And I told her, just keep the thing dry fire, keep about 3 or 4 rounds in it. That's it. And you know, when you need it, just make sure you pump that thing really hard.
Right.
And one day out of the shower, she got a robe on. She pumped it. The guy broke his hip running down the hallway in the opposite direction. And here's the kicker. The dude actually jumped off the balcony.
Wow.
With a broken hip. Fell into a glass table on the way out the balcony. And he was crawling away from the police.
Wow.
And that, you know, so there again, no shots were fired.
Mm-hmm.
The outcome was good.
Sure.
And they got the scumbag.
Right.
But, you know, what did it take up to that point? You know, there was a lot of people raped up there.
Right, yeah, she was lucky. She was lucky. Well, not just lucky, she was aware. I mean, the fact that she had that awareness, you know, if she was clueless as to what was going on, then, you know, who knows what would have happened, you know.
But it just happened that she had the bedroom door locked and the doorknob started shaking, you know.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, definitely. I got 2 stories here, and I'm looking at my phone here real quick here, but to find out what the author's name is. This is a book that I had mentioned last week called The Gift of Fear, and I'm just trying to get the author's name for you here. Great book. Highly, highly recommend it. If you are interested in situational awareness at all, the book The Gift of Fear is an excellent, excellent resource. So, The Gift of Fear was written by Gavin DeBecker. The Gift of Fear by Gavin DeBecker. So one of the stories in the beginning of that book was a story about a woman who considered herself to be pretty aware, pretty vigilant. Was going up into her apartment. She was carrying some stuff, and she dropped something. And a man happened to be there, and he said, "Oh, I got that for you." And again, this is a typical response for male predators, specifically rapists. And the technique actually has some kind of name, as twisted as that might be, but it's got some kind of name. And basically, the idea is that they are offering their generosity to you. So this guy offered to pick the thing up for her. She didn't feel comfortable with it, but she let him do it anyway. He followed her into the apartment with whatever it was that she dropped, and lo and behold, he ended up raping her. Terrible, terrible story. So it was a terrible situation, but after he was done, he got up, he closed the bedroom window, and he said to her, "I'm not going to hurt you." Didn't sit easy with her. So he walked out of the room, closed the door, walked out of the room, and she heard him jingling around in the kitchen in some drawers. At that point, in her gut, she knew he's lying. He is going to hurt me. And there were, the three pieces of that puzzle that she put together were closing the window, saying he wasn't going to hurt her, and then hearing the jingling around inside of the kitchen drawer. She thought, obviously, then looking for a knife or something to come back and kill her. Now, this guy, I think, had killed like 17 women prior to her, And she didn't know that, of course, but she wrapped herself in a sheet when she heard the jingling in the drawer, and she darted out into the hallway, ran into the neighbor's apartment across the hall, and basically stayed there until they heard and saw this person leave the apartment and take off. They ended up finding him, arrested him, and like I said, this guy killed like 17 women, raped and killed 17 women prior to this event. So what's the point? Well, she was obviously, she allowed that situational awareness. She knew something was off about this situation, but she didn't listen to her gut at first. And that's kind of one of the things that led into the assault, which is, again, terrible. We're not blaming her, but again, the point is she had that gut feeling that she ignored in the beginning. And then she had that gut feeling again when he left the room. So in the book, The Gift of Fear, the whole premise is that we've been given this gift from God or through evolution or whatever you believe, that in our gut, we know whether a situation is right or wrong or off or on. And the book talks about how we need to start listening to that, developing it, and that's why I think it's a really great story to kind of lead into the book, and I think it's definitely relevant to what we're talking about. The other thing I just wanted to talk about real quick was, I remember a couple years ago now, and I'm sure this has happened multiple times, so I'm just remembering one situation out of probably many where a woman was assaulted and raped in a parking garage. So some of the tips that we're going to talk about is relevant to this story, where the woman came out to her car. Again, she thought she was pretty alert and pretty aware, and goes to get into her car. Somebody jumps out from a car next to hers, takes her down to the ground, and that's when the assault started. This could happen to anybody, and it's not just necessarily a woman's issue, but the statistics show it's mostly a woman's issue. So to address this, it really is important. Now, the first thing I can't stress enough is get training. So before we jump into our list, I'm gonna say get training. Whether it is online courses, whether you go to a local dojo, whether you drive out to another state to get some training, definitely get training, because you're going to respond the way that you're trained to respond. I'm going
to interject something with training. You can go to, I forgot the website off the top of my head, but there are Carl McGraw. Yep. Instructors that will Israeli self-defense. Now, what I like about Israeli self-defense, and I've taken it, is you attack a weapon. Mm-hmm. You disarm. It's what we call weapon retention in the field. You disarm your attacker without pulling your weapon, and use that weapon against them, and then you could use yours.
Sure. So
it's just, but they do seminars. These instructors will come out and do seminars with you. Mm-hmm. There's a couple of guys around that do that.
Sure, yeah. And Krav Maga is definitely, to me, it's what Jason Statham, the actor, does. To me, it's one of the coolest martial arts that exist. They teach you to attack the soft points. It's a martial art that trains you specifically how to deal with multiple attackers at once. It's really cool.
Real life.
Exactly.
Real life. It's not as in depth as Taekwondo or any of those other martial arts, which is great.
Sure.
I'm not knocking them.
Yep.
But Carl McGraw.
Yep.
Trust me. It saved my bacon.
Yep.
It saved my bacon.
Definitely. So, and we were going to save this for the end. I'm just going to go ahead and mention it now since we're on the subject. I did do a search, since we are on local live TV. I did do a search on women's self-defense classes. And believe it or not, I only found one. The one that I found was from a school called Elliker Kenpo Karate Academy, Shiloh Village, 2323 Carlisle Road, York, PA. It says just 3 minutes up the road from the West Manchester Town Center. So we don't know anything at all about this school. We're not necessarily endorsing it, but it was, just from Google, it was the only school that we found that advertised online that they offered us specifically women's self-defense class. So we wanted to put that out there. Again, we're not endorsing them. We don't know anything about the school other than they offer this class. Their phone number is area code 717-767-2087. Their email address is karatedonna@msn.com. That's karatedonna at msn.com. Like I said, we don't know much about them, but they do offer women's self-defense courses. And it looks like it's Kempo Karate. And again, that's another one of those martial arts styles that is, it's specifically combat related. It's fighting people off. Very, very similar, I would say. Not necessarily the technique is similar, but philosophy is very similar to Krav Maga. So it just says here the classes are usually offered 2 to 3 times a year. They'll hold private self-defense seminars for offices, churches, organizations. Contact the studio for details. So, check them out. But we wanted to go into the 10 basic safety tips for women. I'll go ahead and, Evan, do you want to start off with number 1?
I'm going to start off with be aware of your surroundings. Bottom line, pretty much where you're going. Most women have a standard routine.
Yep.
And that's another thing too. Break up your routine.
Yeah, definitely.
Break it up. I mean, don't run a clock, because it ain't hard to track you. If you know when you go to work, so does everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
It's when you could break that little up, 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes.
Yep.
25 minutes. Okay, I'm going to leave 25 minutes earlier today.
Yep.
Okay, I left 25 minutes early today. I'm just going to switch up my time.
Yep.
Never go home the same way.
Yep.
Don't ever leave the same way.
Absolutely. If you park in the same parking spot, again, we're creatures of habit. So if you normally park in this parking spot, switch it up every couple of days and park in that parking spot. Or if you normally park on the first floor of your parking garage, start parking on the third floor. Just switch it up. Don't be creatures of habit. Make yourself less of a target. So yeah, that's definitely a great, be aware of your surroundings is huge. So here's a big one. Get off of it.
Yeah.
Get off of your phone. Look, I'm a victim of this, or I'm not a victim. I'm guilty of this as much as anybody is. And I tell you what, it is a disease that plagues our country.
They talk about the zombie apocalypse this year.
This is it.
Yeah, this is it right here.
I saw a picture before of. It said something like The Walking Dead, and it's a bunch of people glued to their phone. It's terrible. So here's the thing: there's nothing wrong with looking at your phone. There's nothing wrong with having a phone. There's nothing wrong with engaging in social media and things like that. Nothing wrong with it at all. But if it's distracting you from a bad guy sneaking up on you, planning an assault, then there is something wrong with it. So find appropriate times to pick your phone up. When you're walking to your car is not the best time, not at all. Or if you're in a situation where you're vulnerable, looking at your phone, it's not the right time to do it. Yeah. So if is this page that we're looking at, I'm sorry, this page you're looking at is actually just says even. If you have a problem with this, if this is something where you're always glued to your phone, leave it at home, and then tell somebody where you're going, because it might sound antithetical, but the fact is, when you have it, if you can't unglue yourself from it, then leave it at home until you've disconnected yourself enough that you can start bringing it again. So that's get off your phone is tip number 2.
Don't leave your purse unattended. Now, guys, let me tell you something. I've been a victim of this myself. I left some valuables in the car the other day.
He carries a purse.
No, I don't. My purse is a 5'11". There you go. Messenger bag. Yeah, there you go. Guys, listen, please. And this goes for girls. Don't leave anything in your car that's valuable. Don't. I got hit. They just don't. I had a bad week. Andy had a bad week. I was overwhelmed, and I completely forgot. I mean, done. And I go in, and my stuff's gone. And they didn't take a lot, but what they took, that hurt.
Oh yeah,
it hurt.
Yep. So one of the cool things, one of the pertinent ideas here in that is, in the mind of a predator, if you're a woman and you leave your purse somewhere and you walk away from it, in the mind of the predator, that automatically paints you as an easy target.
Yep.
So that's another reason, not only because you don't want your stuff to get stolen, but in the mind of a predator, they see you leave your purse, you walk to the bathroom, or now all of a sudden, hey, bam, I'm going after this person. So again, you have to think, in order to beat the predator, you have to think like a predator sometimes.
Yeah, definitely.
This is
don't get complacent.
Exactly.
Don't get complacent.
This is an easy one. Seems like common sense, but again, we're out where we live, maybe not. But lock the door behind you. All too often, I go in my house, I leave the keys in the ignition, I leave the door open. I mean, all this stuff. And as I've gotten more into this stuff, I have not, but I used to. And so locking the door behind you is a huge.
Especially where you live, dude.
Oh,
especially where you live.
I live out in the country.
Yeah.
I mean, you wouldn't think that you'd be a victim out there, but it's anywhere. So
it's anywhere. And trust me, what they're going to do is they're looking. These guys are looking just for a vehicle.
Yep.
And they know how complacent these guys are.
Right.
And they'll just go over. Oh, look, there's keys in the coffee. In your cup holder. They're goodbye. And
when it relates to female assault and rape, so in parking lots and parking garages, one of the easiest things to do is to push the woman back into her own vehicle. Close the door behind you and nobody sees what's going on. If the woman screams, nobody hears it because they're in the vehicle. So getting out of the vehicle, locking the vehicle right away is a great habit for women to start getting into. Also, when you get into the vehicle, lock the doors right away. Again, you have your doors open, you get into your vehicle. It's very easy for somebody that's watching to run up, pop the passenger side door open, stick a knife or a gun to you, and then you're stuck. So again, seems pretty common sense, but it's not. Especially we take for granted that we live out here in the country in a relatively safe area.
Anybody.
So lock the door behind you when you get in and when you get out.
Speak up. Do not worry about being politically correct. Okay? Verbal judo. You want to get somebody's undivided attention? Yell some really good ugly epitaphs at them. It'll do one or two. It'll throw them off. I tell you. It'll throw them off. I've witnessed it myself. I've done it. And yes, it's not a pleasantry. It's not, but it's a way that I actually threw a guy off that threatened me where he knows where I live.
Right.
And I made him so mad he couldn't even find his words.
Yeah.
So I did what I needed to do, and I didn't even move from my locale.
Right. Statistically, women are in general, because we know that there's plenty of loud women out there, but in general, women tend to be more soft-spoken and less willing to, or less, they don't want to be the center of attention as much. Obviously, again, that's a general statement.
Nobody met your wife.
We all know women that love being the center of attention, and they're very loud. But in general, most women they are more I guess introverted,
Docile.
quiet, docile, exactly, yeah. So that's why this is important, because when you do encounter that situation, just being loud, like Evan said, that could be enough to turn somebody away. So the next tip is park safely. this one could. There's a broad array of different things that you could do
back
here.
in.
That's a big one.
Where you can just back in.
Yep, back in. Why? Because if somebody is coming at you, you're able to jump in the car and drive away. You don't have to worry about backing out.
You got a 3,000-pound weapon.
Yep. So park near exits. Lock your car quickly. We already talked about. Check around your car before entering. And let's see here. So one of the other tips is using your keys as a potential weapon. When you come out to your car, put your keys into your fingers. Interlock them into your fingers. I wouldn't suggest punching somebody with that because you could hurt your hand, but to scratch like a cat claw really could do the trick.
Ladies, there's a company, I think Cold Steel makes them, and they're called like cat. They look like a little cat's head. They got 2 spikes over it.
Yep.
They're like $6.
Right.
There you go.
So we're gonna go ahead and jump down
to learn how to use your gun. This is a big one. I had a friend of mine say, "Well, I'm only going to shoot my gun. I'm going to get my permit. I'm just going to shoot it until I had to requalify again." You're more of a hindrance at that point,
right,
than you are going to really fix anything.
So it falls back on training then.
Yeah.
Again. Yep.
That's what we're here. That's what me and you are here.
Right.
You train them up, and then here's the thing: you're going to go to the range You go to the range. They say you need to go to the range every week. Well, not everybody has the money to go to the range every week.
Yep. Yep.
Or the time. So what I say is, every 4 weeks, once a month, you pick a 1 month or 2 days a month, and you get a couple of 100 rounds, and you go shoot a couple of 100 rounds.
Shoot, yeah, definitely. So then the last thing real quick, because we're coming down on time here, is just don't make yourself a target. So wearing flashy jewelry, wearing restrictive clothing, not because of the look of it, but because you're unable to run or defend yourself, carrying more than you can manage, not paying attention to what's going on around you, leaving valuables plain sight. Don't make yourself a target. So that's something that all of us can do just by being conscious of
predators
and what we're doing and what our environment's doing. We have to be conscious of that. So that, in a nutshell, that's kind of what we're talking about tonight with the women's issue with situational awareness. We hope that you've pulled something from it. And what are we at on time?
Right 15 seconds.
Okay. So I'm Andy.
We're over.
Okay.
You're good.
Good.